Today I'm headed to Terminal 2 at Seoul's Incheon International Airport, where an inconvenient event means that today I'll be reviewing Delta's business class product, Delta One, on my flight to the United States. Hello YouTube travelers, and welcome to the Gentleman of Fortune channel. Join me on my travels around the world, and together we'll review the latest in flight and lounge offerings, find out how various airlines' first and business class products stack up, sample their catering, and indulge in their finest champagnes. Together, we'll experience the best of the best, and maybe some more obscure ones too. So be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss a thing. And now I invite you to sit back and relax as we get this next adventure underway. I've already processed through ticketing, immigration, and find myself at the lounge of Korean Air, a Skyteam partner of Delta's. Ordinarily, I try to avoid filling up on food in the lounge and instead save room for the onboard meal, but since my going-in expectation of the catering on today's flight is not too high, I may try one of those chicken salads. The lounge doesn't have too much in the way of hot food options, but there is a variety of finger foods and prepackaged items. Plus, there's a spigot with hot water so that you can make noodles. As far as drink options go, they have several large coolers with choices like water, a couple different types of beer. They have milk. There's also coffee machines with cappuccino and other options. And though I don't show it here, they have several different types of juice available. Here's a look at your only hot food choices. They did have a bar area, though there was no bartender in sight. Fortunately, several items were placed out conveniently for grab and go. With no reason to delay in the lounge, I made my way down to the gate area where the boarding process was already underway. As a business class passenger, I was able to board through a dedicated jetway. Now here's a first look at my seat, which was 6J. My first impression is that the seat looks very new and sleek, though it doesn't impress me as being very wide. Adjacent to the seat, there are USB jacks, as well as a power outlet. There's also the controls for the seat. In the small cubby behind were headphones, a hanger, a bottle of water, as well as a reading lamp. Waiting for me on the seat was a pillow, as well as a blanket, which were both wrapped in plastic. There's also a latch for a coat hanger, though it's so close to the edge of the compartment that it would interfere with people walking down the aisle. In fact, the aisleway was so narrow that my rollerboard barely fit and rubbed on both sides as I made my way to my seat. Now here's a look at some of the amenities. The blanket was branded with Westin Heavenly bedding. There was also a plush pair of Delta branded slippers. As well as a small amenity pouch with Tumi branding. Let's take a look inside. First up, we've got an eye mask, also with Tumi branding. Next up, we've got a pair of rather flamboyant striped socks, which I guess is in their signature passport plum color. There's a little sachet of mouthwash. There's also a promotional card from Tumi, which features a 15% discount. You're welcome to try that online and see if it works. Next up is a package of earplugs. Then we've got a small toothbrush. A small tube of toothpaste. A small tube of lip balm. And a tiny purple pen. It's difficult to see, but there's actually Delta branding on the clip. That's it. Next, let's take a look at the tray table. A button deploys it, and there's also a small vanity mirror over here. It's not a huge table, but probably good enough to accommodate your meal or a laptop. Quite a few crumbs over here. I think Delta needs to invest in some vacuum cleaners. To be honest, this isn't the worst I've seen, but I do get the impression that this is a very new plane, and it's difficult to give them a pass when they're going to spend at least 30 seconds out of the safety video extolling their amazing cleaning procedures.
To fasten, insert the metal tip into the buckle and adjust the strap so it's low and tight across your lap. Be sure your seat is upright, your aisle armrest and headrest are lowered, and your tray table is...
Wow, impressive, right? You'd be forgiven for expecting their planes to be spotless. Finally, it was time to depart, and we began what seemed like an extremely long takeoff roll. Now here's a look at the headphones that are offered in Delta One. The packaging looks a little bit beat up, but I guess that's okay since it's just to indicate that they've been sterilized. There's something kind of sticky on the headphones here. I'm not sure what it is. Where the in-flight entertainment is concerned, Delta deviates slightly from the norm in that they don't list new releases, but rather new on board. Most of these titles seem to be somewhat dated. After airborne, I was finally offered a drink and selected the champagne. Sadly, it tasted awful. Now this is not a bad wine, but when it's served in a plastic cup, it certainly tastes like one. The meal service was delivered a few minutes later on a single tray. For the entree, I selected the chicken, and it was served with a bread roll, salad, and a mushroom soup. And for dessert, there was a small cup of Haagen-Dazs ice cream. I'm not sure what the significance of the napkin holder design was and how it fits into the Delta One branding, but it reminded me of a cookie cutter for a gingerbread man, or worse yet, the icon for the men's lavatory. Now here's a look at the privacy that's afforded by closing the door on the suite, which wasn't too bad, though I still felt it was low enough that passerbys could look over the top. I didn't find the lunch service too filling, so afterwards I ventured to the galley to see what they had in the way of cocktails. With no menus, I settled on a whiskey cola. Considering that this is Delta's premium product, I inquired as to if there might be any pajamas available, which was responded to with a laugh. Not to worry though, I had some from a previous flight on a different carrier. In keeping with this aircraft's theme, the business class lavatories are also a cramped affair. And what's worse, I discovered the hard way that there'd been some sort of leak or accident in the restroom. To their credit, the flight attendants cleaned it up quickly when I highlighted the situation. For those that get hungry in flight, there's a basket with snacks available, though the presentation pales in comparison to other airlines that have a dedicated display space for these types of things. The sight of the mountains of British Columbia let me know that the breakfast service should be commencing soon, though I was surprised they waited until just about an hour before landing to begin. The breakfast included a flavorful quiche and a chicken sausage, as well as some fruit and a croissant. And as you would expect of any well-rounded breakfast meal, a piece of chocolate. I was treated to a beautiful view of the mountains sticking up above the low cloud cover as we descended towards Seattle. Overall, this flight was okay, but I wouldn't consider it impressive. The aircraft itself seemed fairly new, but as far as the hard product goes, the aisleways and entrance into the seat were so narrow that it made them difficult to navigate. The food and beverage service was fairly lackluster, and I felt like Delta squandered any money they spent on the champagne since they can't be bothered to serve it in a proper glass. I was impressed by the one flight attendant who showed pride in their service when she brought out the bottle of champagne to show me after I expressed an interest in what kind it was. Though it's probably a commentary on the rest of the service that such a small act resonated. I'll leave you now with a closing shot of this plane we parked next to from an airline you don't see every day. And as always, until the next video, safe travels.